Gardner-Webb head coach Cris Reisert, the team coming off a loss at Ohio, its second game against an FBS opponent this season. They have their open date this week. They will host Charleston Southern in the North-South Barbecue Bowl on October 4th. But coach, just some general thoughts about your team after the Ohio game, and then we'll go to some questions.
Yeah. Um, I thought we had a lot of really positive things on Saturday. You're not really crazy about silver linings. As a football coach, you want to win, and so do our players. So I think there's a lot of positives you can take from the first 4 weeks of the season. I think there was a lot of positives from the Ohio game, but also a lot of correctables, a lot of things we've got to improve upon. And so the bye week is relatively about us, about Gardner-Webb, and at some point we'll play somebody again, but in the short term, really just trying to improve upon our processes, going back to the basics and doing the little details. And then in all sincerity, getting healthy, playing two FBS games the last 2 weeks or 3 weeks. We're pretty banged up. And so getting healthy and healing, I think, is a really big piece of the equation too.
Perfect. Thanks, coach. We'll go to some questions. We got Jacob with us. So Jacob, go ahead with your questions.
Coach, I was looking at the box score after the game, and I noticed you were 5 for 5 on fourth down. Did you have a plan going into the game to go for it that much if the situation afforded itself, or what was your
Yeah,
approach with
yeah,
that?
that was kind of part of the strategy. We played JMU in 23 or 24. I think we went for it 12 times on fourth down. And so, when you play in these games and you feel like you have an opportunity to compete, we try and be really aggressive. And I think if we had 3 downs, I don't know if we're going to be as effective versus, hey, we got 4 and we can maybe waste it down here and there and be aggressive in one of those areas. And so that was kind of part of the strategy going into it. We weren't great on third down, and not by design, but third down was relatively setting up fourth down to then go for it. And we were 4 for 4 on fourth down. And so I think it played out okay.
Coach, you spoke on Sunday about how pleased you were with the offense. I don't know if you realize this, but you only put up 2 fewer points versus Ohio than did Ohio State. So what does that tell you about your offense, that you're putting up comparable numbers to one of the best teams in the country?
Yeah, I mean, I think offensively we're on the right track. I think being able to kind of settle in and watch the first 4 weeks of cut ups, I think we're doing so many things really, really well. And there's some things that once we get corrected and we kind of get back to the basics on some of the details of how we maybe execute, I think the sky's the limit. I'm excited for our growth there. We've come a long way in a year, but I still believe that there's so much that can kind of keep growing, and I think that's a really big positive for us. We're doing some solid things, but there's still so much improvement to be had, and so we're just chasing the improvement in the bye week. But yeah, we're pleased with how we played.
Last question from me. What is your process during the bye week to balance, like you said, getting people healthy and staying sharp and staying prepared for the next game?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? You don't want to lose your edge, but then at the same time, you got to kind of pull back a little bit just because, we're beat up. And so today will be a lighter day. Tomorrow will be a lot of good on good. Anytime we play against each other and our ones play our ones, it makes us better. And so tomorrow will be a lot of situational work, some moving the ball, some 2-minute stuff, just really sharpening our swords and getting better throughout the bye week. And then Thursday we'll start to transition to a little bit more towards next week's opponent. It'll still largely be focused on us, but we'll look at the next week's opponent, and then we do the dog bowl, which is our guys that maybe don't get a ton of reps throughout the season. We lace it up and full pads and tackle and go compete and have fun and hoot and holler, and it'll be awesome. And so we're fired up. I think if you approach the week the right way, you really can evaluate where you're at, invest in the improvement of either going back to the basics or maybe it's evolving in certain places. And then, really, I think one of the things for us is just being able to celebrate each other and be with each other, and just without having the week to plan, right? Let's focus on our communication, our togetherness, our brotherhood, and do some of the things that can sharpen those edges as well.
All right, thank you. That's perfect.
Coach,
Thanks, Jacob.
talk about Anthony Lowe and Quason Holmes, getting them the ball as much as you can. They've both been returning for you. Anthony had a bunch of catches too. Quason a lot of running at the touchdown. Just getting some of your best players the ball whenever you can, different way.
Yeah, I think it makes you a better coach. You get the guys to get the ball to the good players, and they do stuff with it. Chris Lofton would be in that same boat too. He's playing really really well with the ball in his hands, and so yeah, we're fortunate to have, I think, some skill players that are operating at a high level. Quarterback's doing a good job getting it to them, but I think our O line's doing a tremendous job of being kind of the catalyst of the whole thing, and allowing us to either get the ball to Quason and Carson, our backs, and giving them space to create, or creating enough time for our Qs to be able to find Anthony or Cris or Caleb downfield, and allow them to make big plays too. So it's been cool to see kind of all that come to fruition.
And you've been using them on kick and punt returns too. Have you? Is that they want to do that, or again, you want to get your best players a chance to catch the ball?
Well, I think it'd be crazy if we didn't let Anthony touch the ball as much as he possibly could. And so it's a way when you get a guy like that a touch, you just never know what's going to happen. And so I hold my breath half the time when I'm like, all right, let's see what shakes out here, but it's a way to get him an extra touch, and anytime you get a ball in space with a guy like that, there's a chance for something good to happen, right? So your odds go up exponentially, and so that's really kind of the idea behind that.
Well, Coach, appreciate your time this morning as always. I hope the open date goes well for you and your guys, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Go Dogs.